First contact fallacy. Grand Admiral Kralfax stood before the Drachnid Empire's strategic command, his iridescent scales gleaming under the bioluminescent lighting of the war chamber. The massive holographic display behind him showed a seemingly unremarkable blue planet, the third from its yellow star. Esteemed members of the command, he began, mandibles clicking with barely contained excitement. Our deep space probes have identified an emerging civilization in Sector 847. They call their world Earth. He gestured, and the hologram zoomed in to show cities, vehicles, and primitive spacecraft. The assembled commanders chittered with amusement as they watched humans going about their daily lives. Supreme Commander Vertix leaned forward on her crystalline throne, compound eyes reflecting the holographic display. Their technological level. Precisely what makes this discovery fascinating, Kralfax responded. They've barely established a presence on their moon. Their spacecraft run on chemical propulsion, and their most advanced weapons use primitive nuclear fission. He paused for effect. Yet they possess resources we desperately need. Rare earth elements, vast water reserves, and most importantly, a compatible biosphere for our expansion. The chamber filled with excited whispers. The Empire had been searching for suitable expansion worlds for decades. Their population was growing, and their resource demands were becoming critical. Show them their defenses, Vertix ordered. Kralfax brought up new images, military bases, missile silos, orbital satellites. Their entire planet is divided into nation-states, each with its own military force. They waste resources competing against each other. Their most advanced defense systems couldn't even scratch our scout ship's shields. But there's more, he continued, bringing up intercepted broadcasts. Their entertainment media is filled with scenarios of alien invasions. They've spent centuries imagining extraterrestrial threats. A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber. Vertix's mandibles twitched in amusement. They prepare for what they cannot possibly resist. How charmingly primitive. Indeed, Kralfax agreed. I've already positioned the 7th Conquest Fleet at the edge of their solar system. We can begin the operation within one standard cycle. Our analysis suggests their entire military resistance will collapse within hours of first contact. The Strategic Command deliberated briefly before reaching a unanimous decision. Earth would be added to the Empire's growing list of conquered worlds. Its resources would be extracted, its population subjugated, and its territory would serve as a launching point for further expansion. As Kralfax left the chamber to begin preparations, he accessed his personal database, already planning where to store the records of this conquest. It would be another routine victory for the Empire, hardly worth more than a footnote in their glorious history. In his quarters, he reviewed the invasion plan one final time. The fleet would emerge from hyperspace beyond their moon's orbit, broadcasting standard surrender protocols. When the humans inevitably resisted, they would eliminate a major military installation as a demonstration of power. After that, like countless species before them, they would submit. Computer, he commanded, begin fleet-wide preparation sequence. Invasion countdown initiates in one standard cycle. The computer chirped acknowledgement as Kralfax studied Earth's image one last time. Something about their constant preparation for alien invasion amused him. All that imagination, all that paranoia, and yet they remained so helplessly vulnerable. Little did he know that humanity's apparent vulnerability was the greatest deception ever orchestrated, and the Drachnid Empire was about to learn why humans had spent so much time imagining alien invasions. Operation Silent Shield. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the Global Defense Council. The quantum encrypted displays surrounding them showed real-time data from sensors disguised throughout the solar system, tracking the approaching Drachnid fleet. Project Aegis is fully operational, she announced, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. All 7 planetary defense rings are synchronized, and the quantum mesh is stable. She gestured, and a holographic representation of Earth appeared, showing layers of invisible defensive systems that had taken generations to build. General Marcus Rodriguez, commander of Earth's United Defense Force, studied the display intently. Status of the civilian facade. Maintaining perfectly, Sarah replied. Our surface technology remains at apparent 21st century levels. The Drachnids are still seeing exactly what we want them to see: divided nations, primitive defenses, and technological limitations. The deception had begun in 1947 when humanity had first detected the Drachnid Empire's expansion. Instead of announcing their discovery to the world, global leaders had made an unprecedented decision. Earth would prepare in secret, presenting a facade of division and technological backwardness, while developing advanced technology hidden from alien eyes. Our deep space arrays have intercepted their battle plans, Sarah continued. They're following standard Imperial conquest protocols, exactly as the Titan base predicted. She brought up new data streams showing the Drachnid fleet's formation. They'll emerge from hyperspace beyond lunar orbit, expecting to find a helpless planet. Admiral Yuki Tanaka, commander of Earth's hidden space fleet, leaned forward. And our countermeasures. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The quantum gate network is primed. The moment they enter our trap zone, we can deploy our entire fleet through subspace. They won't know what hit them. The room's atmosphere was tense but controlled. For 75 years, humanity had maintained the greatest secret in its history. While the world appeared to squabble over oil and politics, a unified global civilization had developed in secret. Every space launch failure had been carefully staged. Every apparent limitation in their technology had been a calculated show. Dr. Chen, a voice called from the communication station. We're receiving updates from the Jupiter outpost. The Drachnid fleet has begun their final approach. Sarah accessed her neural interface. Hidden beneath the appearance of a simple earpiece, data flooded her consciousness. Shield frequencies, weapons signatures, fleet formations. Everything about the incoming invasion force had been analyzed and countered before they'd even reached the solar system. They're broadcasting their victory messages already, someone reported with a hint of amusement. Their emperor is preparing for a celebration. General Rodriguez stood, his expression grim but determined. Send the alert to all hidden installations. Operation Silent Shield is now active. He turned to Sarah. Doctor, begin the final countdown. Let's show them why humanity spent so much time preparing for this moment. As the command center hummed with activity, Sarah thought about all the generations that had worked in secret for this day. Her own grandmother had helped develop the quantum shield technology. Her father had spent his life perfecting the subspace weapons that they were about to unveil. The Drachnid Empire thought they were about to add another trophy to their collection. Instead, they were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous prey is the one that appears most helpless. The trap springs. Junior Sensor Officer Kexri aboard the Drachnid flagship, Imperial Dawn, was the first to notice something was wrong. The fleet had just emerged from hyperspace beyond Earth's moon, their massive ships casting long shadows across the lunar surface. Everything appeared exactly as their intelligence had indicated: primitive satellites, basic space stations, and outdated defense systems. But something wasn't right. "Commander," he called out, his scales shifting to a pale green with anxiety. "I'm detecting anomalous energy readings." His claws flew across the holographic interface. They're coming from everywhere. Fleet Commander Kralfax dismissed the concern with a wave of his upper appendage. Probably interference from their primitive communication systems. Begin the surrender broadcast. The massive fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their weapons charging for the planned demonstration of power. On the main view screen, Earth hung like a jewel in space, seemingly defenseless. Then everything changed. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Kexri shouted, his voice cracking. Energy readings off the scale. "Sir, the planet's surface. It's changing." Before their eyes, Earth's apparent technological facade began to dissolve. The crude satellites transformed, revealing advanced weapons platforms. The space debris they detected resolved into cloaked defense stations, and around the planet, 7 massive rings of energy shimmered into view, each humming with power that made the Empire's strongest shields look primitive. Impossible, Kralfax whispered, all 4 of his hearts racing. Their technology level. It was all a deception. Sir, the communications officer called out in panic. We're being hailed on frequencies we didn't even know existed. A human face appeared on their command screen, calm and composed. Dr. Sarah Chen looked at the alien commander with something approaching pity. Drachnid Fleet, this is Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. You have 30 seconds to reverse course, or we will be forced to respond. Kralfax's pride overrode his growing fear. You dare threaten the Imperial Fleet. We will reduce your cities to ash. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their largest population center. Show them the price of resistance. The fleet's primary weapons charge, directing enough firepower to level a continent. But as they prepared to fire, new alarms blared across every ship. Sir, Kexri's voice was barely a whisper now. Quantum gates, hundreds of them, opening all around us. Space itself seemed to tear open as massive portals appeared, surrounding the Drachnid fleet. Through them emerged humanity's true space force, ships of designs the Empire had never seen, their hulls gleaming with technology that shouldn't have been possible for centuries. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Sarah watched the sensor feeds with grim satisfaction. Time's up, she announced. Deploy the quantum mesh. Across the fleet, Drachnid sensors screamed as their ships were suddenly enveloped in a web of quantum energy. Their shields, their weapons, even their engines began to fail as humanity's true technological might was finally unveiled. This is your final warning. Sarah's voice echoed through every Drachnid ship. You have 10 seconds to power down your weapons, or we will be forced to demonstrate why humanity has spent the last 75 years preparing for this exact moment. Kralfax stood frozen on his command deck, watching as everything he thought he knew about this primitive species crumbled before him. In his arrogance, he had led the Empire's fleet into the most sophisticated trap ever conceived. And in the next few moments, he would learn exactly how costly that mistake would be. Counterstrike. In the few seconds that followed Earth's ultimatum, Fleet Commander Kralfax made a decision that would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. Unfortunately for the Drachnid Empire, it was the wrong one. Open fire, he roared, his pride overwhelming his judgment. Show these primitives the might of the Empire. Across the Drachnid fleet, weapons charged and fired. But something was wrong. The devastating energy beams that could shatter continents seemed to dissolve into nothing as they encountered Earth's quantum defense grid. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the attack dissipate harmlessly against their shields. She nodded to General Rodriguez. They've made their choice. Execute Operation Thunderfall, Rodriguez commanded, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's response to generations of alien aggression. Aboard the Earth Defense Force flagship, Humanity's Dawn, Admiral Yuki Tanaka gave the order that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. All ships engage quantum strike protocols. Target their command and control systems first. What followed was unlike anything the Drachnid Empire had seen in its 1,000 years of conquest. The human fleet moved with impossible precision, their ships phasing through space in ways that defied Imperial physics. Each vessel seemed to exist in multiple places at once, their quantum-based technology making a mockery of traditional space combat doctrine. Multiple direct hits, Sarah reported, watching the battle unfold. Their shields are failing. They never anticipated we could bypass them completely. On the Drachnid flagship, chaos reigned. How are they doing this? Kralfax demanded as another explosion rocked his ship. Their weapons, they're ignoring our shields completely. Sir, Kexri's voice trembled. Their technology, it's not just advanced. It's beyond anything in our database. The energy readings suggest they've mastered quantum manipulation at a level we thought impossible. The human fleet moved like a choreographed dance, each ship precisely where it needed to be. Quantum torpedoes phased through Imperial shields as if they weren't there. Focused gravity beams twisted space itself, tearing Drachnid ships apart at the molecular level. "This isn't a battle," someone whispered in the Earth Command Center. "This is a demonstration." They were right. After 75 years of preparation, humanity wasn't just defending itself, it was sending a message to the galaxy. Every moment of the battle was being transmitted across Imperial communication channels, showing the galaxy what happened when you underestimated Earth. "Sir," a Drachnid officer called out in panic, "they're not just defeating us. They're collecting data. Every shot, every maneuver. They're analyzing our responses." Kralfax realized the horrible truth too late. This wasn't just a defense of their world. This was humanity's coming-out party, a calculated demonstration of power that would reshape galactic politics. In less than 15 minutes, the mighty Drachnid invasion fleet had been reduced to floating debris. Only the flagship remained, its weapons disabled, its engines dead in space. Sarah's voice echoed through the crippled Imperial command deck one final time. "Commander Kralfax, your fleet is destroyed. Your Empire's greatest military force was defeated in minutes. You will now deliver a message to your leaders." She paused, letting the silence wait her next words. "Earth is not a target. We are not a prize to be claimed. We are humanity, and we have spent generations preparing for this moment. The next alien fleet that enters our space without permission will receive a warning." As Kralfax stared at his ruined fleet, he finally understood. Humans hadn't just been imagining alien invasions all these years. They had been planning, preparing, and building. Their apparent weakness had been the greatest deception in galactic history. And now, the galaxy would never be the same. Empire's wake. 1 month after the battle that changed galactic history, the Drachnid Empire's Grand Council convened in an emergency session. The massive chamber, usually a symbol of imperial power, felt somehow smaller now. The holograms playing above them showed the same footage that had been spreading across the galaxy. Earth's devastating victory over their invasion fleet. Supreme Commander Vertix, her scales now a muted gray of distress, addressed the assembled council. "The humans have transmitted their terms. They are unexpected." On Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the Global Defense Council, presenting the latest intelligence. "The ripple effects of our victory are spreading faster than anticipated. 3 smaller empires have already declared independence from Drachnid control. Their entire power structure is fracturing." "And their response to our terms?" General Rodriguez asked. Sarah brought up a new holographic display. "They're accepting them all. Full recognition of Earth's sovereignty, a non-aggression pact, and open acknowledgement of our technological superiority." She paused. "But what's really interesting is the effect this is having on the wider galaxy." Reports were flooding in from across known space. The footage of Earth's defense had shattered the myth of Drachnid invincibility. More importantly, it had revealed something many had suspected, but none had proven: that faster technological advancement was possible. The Empire's careful control of technological development had been exposed as artificial. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Tanaka supervised the installation of new quantum defense platforms. The facade was gone now. Earth's true technological face was on display. Ships from dozens of worlds were already requesting permission to visit, to trade, to learn. "We've received another dozen diplomatic requests," a communications officer reported, "including 3 from species we didn't even know existed. They were apparently hiding from the Empire too." Back in the Drachnid Council chamber, Vertix watched the humans' terms being formally accepted. Their civilization, built on countless conquests, was transforming before her eyes. The humans hadn't just defeated their fleet, they had broken the foundations of their power. "There's something else," one council member noted, reviewing the battle data. "The humans, they held back. Our analysts suggest they used less than 30% of their defensive capabilities. This wasn't just a victory, It was a calculated demonstration. In her office beneath the Rocky Mountains, Sarah Chen looked at an old photograph, her grandmother standing before what appeared to be a simple military bunker in 1947. Beside it sat the quantum processor her father had helped develop, and the first prototype of their phase shield technology. Dr. Chen, her assistant called from the doorway. The president is ready for your briefing on the Galactic Integration Initiative. Sarah smiled, touching the photograph one last time. Humanity had spent 75 years preparing for first contact, not just technologically, but culturally and politically as well. Now it was time for the next phase, helping to reshape the galaxy into something better than an empire. As she walked to the briefing room, dozens of ships were already in orbit, their crews eager to learn from the civilization that had hidden in plain sight for so long. Humanity's long vigil was over. They had emerged onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as guardians of a new era. In the depths of space, near the remnants of the Drachnid fleet, a simple probe recorded everything. Someday, historians would mark this as the moment when the galaxy changed, not through conquest or submission, but through the patient, determined preparation of a species that had turned paranoia into the greatest deception in history. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, other empires watched and wondered, what else were the humans capable of?